to impact on the hospitality sector because companies are struggling to hire people for certain roles, and in the kind of lower skilled territory of hospitality. Not saying that hospitality is a low skilled job, because it's quite difficult, especially when it's busy and you have customers who are really annoying. In terms of kind of the ones that you need less experience for, this isn't necessarily the worst thing. But in terms of trying to get the really skilled people, like the people who are managers, head chefs, and the ones that you really need years of experience for to do, the UK hospitality sector is struggling to get those people that previously worked here that are from the EU. This is another Brexit thing. People in this country might see it as a good thing, but really it's not, because it does take a long time to become, a skilled manager, a skilled person who's a maitre d', front of house, and a chef, etc. It takes many years to become skilled to be able to organize, a restaurant and things like that, to be able to, deal with people in a courteous way, as most people kind of expect when you go to a restaurant. So the hospitality industry is facing staffing crisis, as restaurants and pubs say that up to a quarter of those employed before COVID-19 will not return. So that's a quarter of the staff employed pre-COVID not coming back. And when we talked about, we can get British people to do these jobs, that simply does not look like that will be the case. Some of this could be down to British people not wanting to do these jobs, but I think for the most part, it sounds like British people just aren't qualified to do these jobs. So the UK's largest listed pub group, Mitchells and Butlers M&B, has lost 9,000 of its 39,000 staff since last year. So that's a large chunk of it. The owner of more than 40 upmarket restaurants. So these are, that's a restaurant where you will need people who have experience and are skilled working within, the restaurant industry. Sorry, the kind of pub industry, because you're going to pay a lot more money to go to this place than you are to any other place, and therefore the level of staffing, the waiter is going to have experience. A waiter or a waitress is going to have experience with the menu and understanding of how to sell food and drinks to people, but also you're going to need good chefs as well as good barkeeps. So, these are the kind of places where you need experience here. And this place losing 9,000 of its staff, they can't be replaced by, just, a 16, 17-year-old. You need people with skill, especially if you're dealing with alcohol, because you need an 18 plus older person with experience. This other place here, this place is including La Ponte de la Tour and I can't pronounce those words, is looking up to 400 recruits of a total of 1,300 of the UK's total of their UK workforce. So you can see here that they're losing large chunks of their workforces due to Brexit. And Pizza Express is also looking for 1,000 staff, having laid off thousands less than a year ago, which is sus, because a lot of those staff could have been furloughed. So Pizza Express being a bit weird. Watch out for Prince Andrew if you see him about in there, because he's another guy who's a bit sus. Pubs and restaurateurs agree that there is a particular challenge in the south of England and London, as a lack of supply of skilled people from the EU post-Brexit is causing issues with hiring staff, especially in the kitchen. So what you might see is more kind of people from kind of the north of England going towards the south in order to get jobs in these industries. But, because of the fact that some of these people do work in the UK just to send the money to their families back home, it's not the most viable form of living, especially because living in the south of England is far more expensive than living in the north of England. More than 30% of hospitality workers across the UK are thought to have come from Europe pre-Brexit. That's a lot of the industry coming from the EU. But pre-Brexit, but that rises to more than half of these employed in London. So London relying on kind of EU staff, really. Some of these people may be students who just work part time, but some of these people will be people who built their lives there. Skilled people, managers who can afford to live in London, essentially. Martin Williams, the head of Rare Restaurants, which owns 16 strong Gaucho chain and 3M restaurants, is looking to fill 40 jobs out of a team of 750, so he's not doing too badly. But he said rivals had begun to poach key staff because of shortages of experienced chefs and managers. So this is a good thing to the extent of it means wages are going to go up for people because you're more in demand. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. Food prices might rise a bit because of the competition, but at the same time, if you cannot fill these positions, then that puts the business at a massive disadvantage, because clearly there aren't enough people to fill these roles of professional, a professional job, being a head chef, or being, just a even if you're, an assistant chef, it's still a skilled job. Being a front of house or being an experienced waiter, these are the jobs that, experienced waiter or manager, these are the jobs that are, do take time to learn, to be effective at those jobs. And what you can see here is that the hospitality sector is struggling to fill those experienced positions. People are offering silly money to reasonably low level managers and chefs, but the thing is, right, you pay your workers, or you're going to be run out of business, because you're going to struggle to get workers in, especially skilled. You're going to struggle to get even low level managers and chefs in, because they may be offered a promotion or a higher place somewhere else, or they might straight be offered more money for the same role, and you'd be a fool not to take it. Shortages would become more acute on the full reopening next month. So the full reopening is going to happen soon, and it's gonna really affect the restaurant industry, the hospitality industry. If you don't have enough staff, we've already seen that in America, where people don't want to go back to dangerous low paid jobs in America in the hospitality sector. And these restaurants don't understand that if you don't pay your workers properly, they will leave, or they simply won't come back. And these EU workers, for whatever reason, EU staff for whatever reason, maybe it's because of Brexit, maybe they've found a job back home or whatever, they've been laid off, maybe they had to return to whichever country they're from in order to find work, and now we're saying, oh, we need you guys to come back because we need you now. Like, that's not how it works. That's not how someone feels valued. This other person saying, this person mentioned earlier, saying we're definitely seeing the European workforce not return. And the thing is, you need to either offer them, a decent enough offer for them to come back, or you're going to have to start training people in the UK very quickly to fill these roles. That some of these roles do take 3, 4, 5 years to actually train and become good and effective at your job. The industry is raising 5 million support to, training up to 10,000 new recruits, as employers say workers have sought alternative employment or returned home to Europe after months of lockdown kept businesses closed. Again, surely these people would have been furloughed though. This is the Springboard initiative, which is backed by the Savoy Educational Trust, who are, this is a good thing, training up new people to take on these jobs. But, how long will these new people stay in these jobs if you're not offering them enough money because they've got a better offer, or maybe the job is stressful and, the money's not worth it, so they want to work somewhere else? And also the fact that we don't know what the government's new immigration policy is going to be for, the points-based system is going to be for people who have actual skills that the industry needs. Alistair Storley, the chief executive of Westbury Street Holdings, which owns Baxter Story, catering group and coffee shop chain Benugo, admits new recruits will not be enough to support the industry, which is in full swing, employed 3 million people. So essentially you're training up 10,000 people to replace 3 million people. Like, come on, dude. We'll have quite the challenge, he said, adding that our recent industry meeting restaurateurs estimated that they were 10 to 25% short of staff. So we can see the impact that EU staff had. Those people who argued that, EU staff were depressing wages, you can make that case to a small extent. I think the numbers that I've seen is only between 1% and 3%, which, they argue if you're poor, that's worth a lot, but the less money you earn, the less that's worth. And you can see here, maybe it's a reluctance of British people to work within the hospitality sector. Maybe it's recruiters failing to kind of recruit British people. Or just, who knows what's the case. But we know that, they've lost up to around a quarter of their staff. And these were done by, EU workers, EU staff. So you can see the impact that Brexit is having on the hospitality sector. And it's not good. If you don't have enough staff, people just won't go to your restaurant. Why? Because they're going to have to wait for ages, or the food won't be as good, or the service won't be as good. So, all those Brexiteer arguments that people made about, British people will replace the jobs that those pesky Europeans are doing, Polish man stole my job and all this stuff, is simply not the case, because these jobs are available now. Clearly, these jobs are available now, so take them. If you're a Brexiteer and you don't have a job right now, the hospitality sector might be your calling. It says, we are getting plenty of applications, but not the skill set we require. Interesting. Not the skill set we require. So the arguments that it was low-skilled immigrants from the EU coming here, taking all our jobs, is not the case, when some of these people would have been very experienced in the fields that they are working in, or they might have been here for a while and actually bothered to actually learn how to be a good manager, learn how to be a good maitre d', learn how to be a good head chef, learn how to be a good sous chef. Maybe that was the case. And maybe that's the reason why we're struggling right now. Story said, noting that experienced front of house staff or managers were as hard to find as skilled kitchen staff, because you need a certain level of competence to run the front of house. It's a very difficult job to do. It's very difficult being a head chef because you're running a brigade. Des Des, the owner of D&D, said that finding staff had become the group's number one challenge. The number one challenge during a pandemic and a recession is your staff, a potential recession, sorry, is finding staff. It's crazy. He says, I think the summer we will be using more students than ever to be able to cope. But the thing is, that's not going to, students won't replace the skilled workers that you've lost. Fitch Ratings predicts that the shortages are likely to lead to increased costs and lower profit margins for the hospitality and businesses in the short term. Obviously, as you know, staff are being poached. That means you have to pay your existing staff more, which in that case is a good thing. You could argue. However, the fact that you can't fill the positions for the experienced staff means that you're going to have a lesser quality service to offer people, as they have to increase, wages and offer more training for less experienced staff, which isn't necessarily the worst thing. But surely this is one of the things that maybe the restaurant industry should have predicted a bit better, that Brexit would have an impact on the hospitality sector. A note published by Fitch this week added, we anticipate these pressures to gradually dissipate, very eloquent, and the sector to increasingly recruit within the UK, including employees laid off from other client-facing sectors, which is great, but you're going to have to train them very quickly, and they most likely won't be as good as the staff you've already lost, such as retail, due to permanent shop closures. We know that retail was hit very badly by the pandemic. Some extra costs could be offset by strategic price increases, such as removing food discounts at some pub operators. That means prices are going up, in a sense. However, Peter Borg-Neal, the chairman of pub owner Oakman Inn, said the real problem would not be revealed until the furlough system ends in September and it becomes clear how many workers will never return, which is a really good point, that once we see the furlough system end and people go to work within different sectors and wherever, we'll see how badly is the restaurant sector going to struggle. Maybe that those people who were furloughed, who are from the EU, decide, we're not going to bother coming back to the UK because we found another job within, whichever EU country they're from, or they found another sector to work in. That's going to be a key problem for the hospitality sector, which typically is very difficult and very stressful and very low pay. He said the government would need to rethink immigration principles to allow hospitality businesses to bring in more workers from overseas, which means that, those pesky Europeans would still be coming here to take British people's jobs. And you might get people further afield where you might have more of a language barrier, which is another problem if you're working within the hospitality sector. So I'm sure Brexiteers are going to be really happy about that. He goes on to say there is no doubt pay is going to go up, which again isn't bad. That is not necessarily a bad thing. The level of skill in back of house people has not been fully rewarded in the past. So this is an issue for the hospitality sector, that they should be rewarding people. Maybe it's the case that these people aren't coming back because they found a better paying job or they're more happy with their new job, even if it is less pay. So maybe you should have been paying people properly from the start. And that drives recruitment issues. So clearly this person is admitting that you're struggling to get back of house people. That's typically chefs and whatever, because you didn't pay them properly in the first place. But people are going to have to pay more. They don't want microwave food, they want proper fresh stuff, and it will have to be paid for. So prices will go up because of this. For the hospitality sector to play its full role in the economic recovery, additional support for jobs as well as long-term plans to facilitate enhanced training and apprenticeships are vital. And maybe the government could put more kind of respect on things like apprenticeships and maybe increase the wages for apprenticeships so people actually take them. Maybe increase the amount that people learn about cooking within schools, so that when they go to transition into trying to become a cook or a chef, it's much easier. Maybe the government need to really focus on moving away from academic training and academic principles within the education system and focus more on vocational stuff, because this is not, the hospitality sector isn't the only one that's going to struggle from Brexit. It's going to be a multitude of sectors where we relied on EU staff here, not just because they were willing to do jobs that British people just weren't willing to do, but it's because they have expertise that British people don't have. Electricians, plumbers, builders, all of these sorts of industries are going to struggle because we don't train vocational studies enough within the UK, and therefore we rely on people to come in from outside the UK to actually do these jobs. That's not to disrespect anyone who comes from the EU to do jobs in the UK, because they are filling a gap that is clearly required by the British workforce to fill, and they are. You need immigration in developed economies to push the economy. You can't have sectors that are short on staff, because that slows growth. You need all hands on deck essentially to push economic growth. And by being a member of the EU and having freedom of movement, it helped us. It helped us push the economy to make stronger recoveries. Now we're going to really see a struggle where the economy struggle, people have less money, especially once the furlough scheme ends. But also we're going to see a lack of jobs being filled as well, and that's going to cause further problems for the economy. So look, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. This video was a bit rambly, my apologies for that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.